Welcome back to Become a Calm Mama. I'm your host. I'm Darlene Childress, and I am about to start a two-part series all about family values. Essentially, what I'm teaching is how to be value-led instead of child-led in your family. How to make decisions based on your values and the things that are important to you, how to set boundaries about the things that are important to you, instead of making decisions based on emotion, how you feel in the moment, or how your children feel in the moment. Parenting can be really, really confusing, and it can be hard to figure out, what am I supposed to do here? Do I let my kid go to this birthday party? Do I let them quit the sports team? Do I let them not go to our religious service? Do I let them blow off steam by swearing? All of these are hard questions to answer. So one of the strategies that I want to help you with is figuring out what is important to you as a parent and your values as a family, so that when you have a decision to make or you see a behavior that is happening in your family, you get to look at your values and decide, is this aligned with the things that are important to us? Is this decision going to help us get our kids closer to our values and where we want to take our family? Or is this decision going to undermine our family values? I'm hoping to give you some examples of this as we go forward, but I first wanted to start to just define what values even mean. Values are defined as a person's principles or standards of behavior. So you're kind of figuring out what is important to you, how do you want to act in the world, what are the ways that you want to show up, and then defining, giving some words to those values. So for example, I just asked my husband this. I threw it on him out of nowhere because he's not sitting around thinking about doing a podcast episode on family values, but I was. And we were at lunch and I just said to him, hey, I'm going to throw a question at you. How would you define our family values? Like, what are some things that are important to you as a parent and that you think we did or want to establish as a family? And he was quiet for a minute and he's like, oh, I don't want to think about this. Which I understand. I've been hesitant to even do this podcast episode because I feel like it's a very simple thing, but it's also requires a lot of thinking and self-reflection. And it's not something we really want to even think about that much. But I did press him for a minute. I was like, just kind of off the top of your head, like, what is a primary value to you as a person? And he was quiet. And then he said, integrity. And I'm like, well, what does that mean to you? And he started defining it, like being honest, doing what you say you're going to do, doing things well. And it started to encapsulate a lot of all of our values around honesty, around our work habits, around the things that we think are really important, taking personal responsibility, following through, all of those things. I'm like, oh, okay, so one of our core family values is integrity. So that's where to start for you or your husband or your wife or your partner or whoever you sort of co-parent with is, what do you think is important for you as a person? What are some of the things that you value as a person? For me, one of my strongest values is honesty. I am honest to a fault almost. It's like something that's very, very important to me. And it's been something I've really talked about with my family and my kids. And that goes alongside with my husband's integrity. But for me, I want to be very honest. Also, I value gratitude, right? That's a very important thing for me to have perspective and to look for where things are going well and to cultivate gratitude in myself. One of my other primary values is being kind. I think we can all be very kind to each other and be respectful the way we speak to each other and the way that we are generous with each other and the way that we show generosity and show love and appreciation for others. And that is my value of kindness. So for you, I want you to start thinking about what are the values that you have for yourself. That's a good place to start with this discussion. I created a little worksheet that I am giving to those people on my email list. So if you did not get it, you're not on my email list, go and subscribe. You can get the Stop Yelling cheat sheet. You can get any of my free resources and it will put you on the email list. We'll also put it as a link in the show notes. So defining your family values, the first part is really your own individual reflection. So in the worksheet, I give you 5 steps to defining your family values as a couple. So the first part is for yourself, kind of figuring out what are my values for me? What are the top qualities I want to model to my kids? What are the values I hope my children have? What are the non-negotiables in our family and how we treat each other? And what kind of environment do I want to create for our family? So really kind of thinking about like what's important to you as a family. In the little worksheet, I have listed a bunch of common family value themes like respect, adventure, gratitude, growth, health, humor, spirituality, resilience. And as you look at the list, you're going to be thinking, oh yes, I want that. I want that. I want that. So I'd rather you start from within and try to figure out what's important to you as a person. What are the things that you care about? When you get angry about something, about a behavior, what value is that kind of rubbing up against? When you act in a way that you don't like, what value are you not aligned with within yourself? Looking at what's important to you and what bothers you about other people or yourself is going to be a big clue about what you value as a person. So the idea, if you're in a co-parenting situation, is that you do this on your own. You ask your partner to do it, and I give you some questions that you can use from the worksheet. Then you come together and you just talk about it. You say, hey, why don't you share with me one of your values that you think is important? And your partner will share a little bit. They'll share what the value is, and you can ask some questions like, why is that important? Or what does that look like? How does that show up for you? What do you think that means? And you kind of take turns sort of talking about your values. And over the conversation, the idea is that you'll identify some shared themes. So you're trying to come up with maybe 5 to 8 core values as a family, as a couple, that you would like to work towards in your parenting. Next week, I'm going to help you understand why this is important, but I thought it would be helpful for the first week is just to have a conversation about family values in general. How do you come up with them? What are they even? And like, how do you make them up? So looking at your core values as a couple, as a parenting collaboration. If you are divorced or separated or you never married with your partner, but you have a partner that also helps raise your kids, if it's a good relationship, it might be interesting to talk to your co-parent and ask them what their values are and like see if we're aligned, right? Looking at each value, and then you want to go through a process of sort of defining it. So for example, kindness. When you think about kindness, or my husband was integrity. So what does that mean to you? What will it look like in your home, in your family? So for example, you would say in our family, kindness means treating each other with care and respect, even when we're upset. We speak gently, offer help without being asked, and apologize when we hurt someone's feelings. For example, we say please and thank you every day. We check in on each other after tough days, and we do kind things for each other. If someone makes a mistake, we forgive them and we respond with understanding. We are kind even when people make mistakes. That is a way to cultivate kindness in your family, is defining what does kindness even mean? What does it look like in practice? What does integrity look like in practice? So we were talking about this, my husband and I, about, well, what does integrity mean? And it means committing. If you say you're going to do something, then do it. So if that means you're committed to a sports team, or you committed to being participation in a play or some sort of extracurricular or on a group project, and you said you were going to bring in the cookies or whatever it is for the group project, that you do the thing you said you're going to do. If you can't, for some reason, that you take responsibility and you're honest with the reason you're not doing it. You make that hard phone call and you tell the truth, instead of blaming or lying or white lying and saying, oh, it's because we got stuck in traffic or something like that. I'd rather you be honest. So we have cultivated that with our kids. I think so. I mean, we might not know everything, right? That they maybe haven't had always integrity around. And I was saying that to my husband, that one of our strong values is work habits, and that goes in with integrity for us. And I was like, I don't know if we cultivated that well with our kids. And he's like, but they're still learning. And that's the other thing you want to remember is that you have values that you sometimes aren't aligned with, that you go outside of your values sometimes and it feels uncomfortable. That's because of life, because of circumstances, or maybe you feel insecure sometimes, or you have your own work to do, your own growth to go through. That's okay. You are also learning. So when your children show up in a way that goes outside of your integrity, that counteracts or contradicts your values, then you get to think, okay, this is an area that my child still needs to grow. This is like a gap in where they are and where we want to push them towards, where we want to guide them towards. The way we guide our children towards our values in the Calm Mama process is through connection, which means helping our children understand themselves, connecting our kid to themselves. So we kind of narrate like, oh, I hear you want to quit the team or not show up, or, you don't want to go to school because you didn't study for that test, or you're angry with your brother and you hit him. Like, I understand that frustration you feel and that overwhelm and that embarrassment. So we narrate to them the circumstance, and then we validate their feeling. And then we say, and in this family, that doesn't work. That strategy that you're using to deal with your feelings doesn't work. So we go to limit set. So connect and limit set go together to help our kids grow, understand themselves, understand why they behave the way they behave so they don't get stuck in a shame cycle. We want to validate their feelings, validate their strategy. Like, yeah, I get it. You don't want to go to school. You didn't study for the test. Like, that makes sense. But in this family, we have integrity. We stay committed. We do the things that are hard. So you're still going to school. So our values are leading our decision making when it comes to those sort of game day, in the moment, hard parenting choices. Look back and go, is this aligned or not aligned? Now, when your child is saying that, I don't want to go, I don't like it, or their teacher's mean to me, or whatever, that's why I yelled at her, that's why I hit my brother because he's a jerk, okay? They are demonstrating immaturity. They're demonstrating emotional dysregulation. We don't need to shame them and say like, what's wrong with you? That's not nice. Don't be a jerk. Instead, we want to say, well, okay, I understand why you would act that way. It makes sense. And in this family, we show up differently. This is what is the boundary. This is how we expect you to behave. And we set limits around that. So I wanted this to be a short episode because I don't want you to feel overwhelmed with the concept of values. I want it to be simple and something that's accessible to you, that you scroll down on a piece of paper, your values, your things that are important to you. And you ask your partner to do that the same. Just be like, what do you think is the most important things we need to teach our kids? And then come together and talk about them. Find some core values together. Define those a little bit. Okay, what does this even mean? Let's define it. Let's talk about what it looks like in practice. Then if you want to, you can turn those core values into a family values statement. So this can be a very short paragraph that weaves your values into a vision or commitment. And you can put it up if you want or whatever you want. An example would be, in our family, we value connection, kindness, and honesty. We speak respectfully, listen deeply, and prioritize time together. We grow through challenges, we laugh often, and we treat others the way we want to be treated. And then that's it. You can have a little family meeting. You share with your kids your family values. You say, these are the things that we're all about. We oftentimes, as a couple, we would talk about being a Childress. It's our last name. And we'd say, this is what it means to be a Childress. And we just kind of created a narrative around our family name. You don't have to, but it was just something for us that was kind of anchoring, like, we're all Childresses here. This is how we behave. Now, obviously, if you have a different last name than your partner or your kids, and, if there's multiple stepchildren and things like that, that might not work for you. So you just kind of define to your children what it means, what your values are. And then when life happens and you go along your way You can come back, revisit your value statement every 4 to 6 months. Just like, are we aligned here? Are we on track here? So where are the gaps that we're seeing with our kids? What do we want to add more of? Where are we kind of off? So if I have a value for generosity, but I don't have any places in my life where my kids have opportunities to demonstrate generosity, to be generous, to be giving, well, that maybe means that I need to add something like that. So maybe we are more careful about making things for someone's birthday, or they become more part of picking out birthday presents for family members, or going and using their own money or their own, like wrapping a toy if they're little and they're giving it to their friend, just to practice that value of generosity. So you look at your lifestyle, you look at your values, and then you can look at your life and be like, well, are we aligned here? We say that service is a very important value, but yet we don't have any opportunities for service. We say spirituality or religion is very important, but yet we are not attending services or reading from our religious texts to our children. So just kind of catching yourself, not in a shamey way, not in a gotcha way, but a little bit more curiosity, a little bit more of like, okay, we say this is important, but where are the opportunities for demonstrating it? Do we need to add some more? If you're off track, have some more boundaries around it. You guys are welcome to go to your friend's house on Saturday, as long as we have all done a big cleanup in this, because in this family, we value cleanliness. Like, it's fine. If that's your value, great. That's a very good value. If it's not your value, drop it. Who cares, right? You don't have to have all the values be all of yours. So pick yours, define them, make a statement if you want, and then align your values with your lifestyle. And then if you notice that there's a behavior or there's some place in your life that you feel off track, you can look back at your values and say, oh, okay, this is why I don't like this behavior. This is why this lifestyle choice isn't working for me. And I'm going to make some different decisions about it. So hopefully it doesn't feel that complicated. I don't want this to be this big, dragged out, oh, we have to have a big Sunday meeting with my partner. I want it to be a little more interesting and kind of an opportunity for exploring within yourself. I don't want this to be a to-do list thing. So if this isn't something that you're interested in right now, it's okay. You don't have to like, oh, Darlene said we have to do family values, so let's do it this week. Like, if you don't have the capacity or bandwidth to think about this right now, it's okay. Just earmark this podcast episode and come back to it. Sometimes the beginning of the year is a good time to talk about values. Sometimes the beginning of the school year, sometimes around a birthday or a day of grieving can be good days to take a look at it. I also like to look at seasons in my life. So going into the summer, what are my intentions? What are the things that I wanted to make sure I do this summer? Like, what are our values this summer? How do I want to show up? Do I want to have my kids still be working on like work ethic and work habits? Okay, great. So I'm going to bring in, some type of schoolwork, or maybe they stick to the swim team or something like that over the course of the summer. So looking at your values and then looking at your summer plans and being like, well, is there any opportunity for me to align with that value in this season of my life? That can look like, during winter breaks or other religious holidays, like, this could be a good opportunity to take a look at our values and maybe bring some more of those things in. So I want it to be interesting. I want it to not feel heavy. I want it to be light, and I want you to do it when it feels like you have the bandwidth to do it. It's a good exercise. I enjoy doing it myself. And like I said, we do have a downloadable called Defining Your Family Values, a step-by-step guide for creating a family value statement to guide you on your parenting journey. And it's kind of the prompts that I offered to you in this episode. You can download that on the show notes, or if you're not on my newsletter, be sure to be on there, because I send all sorts of resources when I release the podcast episode. There's a blog post and an email that goes out letting you know what the topic is. And there's also kind of an overview of what the topic is all about. So if you don't get to the podcast, you can't listen to it, it's fine. You can just skim it and you're like, oh, okay, that's like my next one, right? Be sure you're on the podcast email list. If you're not, get on there. You can do that by signing up on the blog page or whenever you sign up for any of those free resources I have on my website, which there's a lot, by the way. I was just looking at these. I'm going to look at them real quick while I'm talking to you guys. Okay, so there's the Stress-Free Summer with Kids, the Stop Yelling cheat sheet, the overview of the Calm Mama process, one called Managing Meltdowns and Misbehavior, the Stress Reset Guide for Moms, Easy Morning with Kids, and then, of course, the Defining Your Family Values. So there's like a ton of free resources on there. You sign up, you get the free downloadable, you get on the newsletter, and you get the email to tell you about the podcast and any resources. So it's pretty cool. Highly recommend you being on the newsletter email list and also taking advantage of these free resources that are on the website. So you can go to calmmamacoaching.com/tools and you'll be able to find all of those free resources. Calm Mama is spelled calm, M-A-M-A, coaching.com. All right, mamas, I hope you have a great week, and dads, because I think that there might be some dads listening to this episode. So shout out dads, and don't make it too complicated. Just think for yourself, what are my values? What do I care about? And make a little list. You can do it in your phone. You can do it on the worksheet that I provide or on a piece of paper. Doesn't matter. Just think about it, make a note, and then talk about it with your partner. Okay, next week, I'm going to talk to you about how to use these values to be value-centered, value-led, instead of child-led or feelings-centered. So good episode on trying to help you get out of permissive parenting and into leadership parenting, more around your family values and what is important to you and helping your children thrive. All right, I can't wait. I will talk to you next week. Hey mama, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, I want to encourage you to do two things. The first is go to my website, calmmamacoaching.com, and get a copy of the Stop Yelling cheat sheet. You'll get a step-by-step breakdown of the most important tool I teach, which is the pause break. And you'll also get 40 ideas to reset your body and balance your nervous system so you don't have to yell at your kids. You can get a copy of that, again, at my website, calmmamacoaching.com/stop yelling. The other thing I'd love for you to do is go to Apple Podcasts and rate and review this podcast so that other moms can discover empowering and helpful, practical parenting strategies just like you did today. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. It means a lot to be in your ear every week and to support you on your parenting journey.